And so I think that, I think we have to take in the whole corpus of Scripture, Old Testament in light of New Testament, because there are some things in the New Testament that are very clear, and there are some things that are very clearly retained in the New Testament. And so I think we need to make sure that we're here. Those are my thoughts on that, and I hope we continue to
I have a
study that.
thought too, on that word forever too, is that, and it's something, everybody needs to study out for themselves. I did a little study myself on it. The word forever is understood that how it's being used is in reference to what it's talking about. If I say, you know what, I'm going to love my wife forever. How long am I going to love my wife for? As long as you live. I just throw out a couple verses. Maybe when it writes you down, you want to check these out for yourself. 1 Kings 12, verse 7 is one of them. And in there, what it's talking about in 1 Kings 12, verse 7, it's saying that there's a servant, and he is in servitude to his master, and after a certain time they were supposed to go free. And it says, if the servant decides, you know what, I don't want to go free. I love my master. I love how he takes care of me. He treats me well and stuff. Then it says you're supposed to take him to the elders. You're supposed to take his ear, put it against the wall, and take an awl and put an awl through it, make a hole in his ear. And it says that way he'll be a servant to that master forever. Well, obviously you can be a master to him forever as far as we understand forever and ever, or until as long as he lives. Let me give you a couple other verses there too. You can look them up yourself. 1 Samuel 27:12. 1 Chronicles 28:4. 1 Chronicles, am I going too fast? 1 Chronicles 23:13. 1 Samuel 1 and verse 22 and 28. It talks about, in 1 Samuel 1, verse 22 and 28, it talks about Hannah lent Samuel to the Lord forever. And then it says, in verse 22, lent Samuel to the Lord forever. And then verse 28, it says that he served the Lord all the days of his life. So again, he was lent to the Lord forever. Well, as long as all the days of his life, he served the Lord in that capacity. So again, sometimes the word forever may not necessarily mean like when we think forever, never, 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 never. Because if you'll check these verses out, I think you'll see those are actually talking about things that have actually come to an end. And it might be a good thing to go through a concordance, because I know there's more verses than the ones I shared. Go through concordance if you have a concordance. Look up the word ever, because if you look in the concordance, it doesn't have the word forever. It has word for and ever. In fact, in the word for, it says look up the word ever if you're looking forever. And then look up the word ever and just go through and look at different ones. But I think you'll see that forever isn't necessarily mean like we think, forever, never, never all the time, in reference to some of these things. So.
Yeah, and Paul is not getting rid of, these days. He's not saying this is out, we're done. He's not doing that. He's just saying, don't let anyone judge you. He says, he who eats, he eats to the Lord. He who does not eat, he does not eat to the Lord. And so we got to take in, the body of the New Testament when it's explaining and understanding some of those things. But we need to be careful.
Well, I noticed that that I was judged more when I started celebrating Sabbath and the Passover. I received much more criticism than I did when I celebrated the Christmas and Easter and all those kinds of things. And so when I look at that, I'm saying, he's saying, you're coming out of the Gentile thing and you're starting to celebrate these things. Don't let anybody judge you regarding these things. So I look at it from that perspective.
Right.
And, when you look at the chapter 14 in Zechariah, when our King returns, everybody's going to be celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles. So to me, it's like, well, we're supposed to celebrate Sabbath forever. This is forever. And Deuteronomy 32:40, he says, this is the Lord talking. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. And that's the same word.
Same word.
So, I don't know.
I thought it said, don't judge me for not practicing this.
It goes both ways. It goes both ways because I think it's Romans 14 or 13 that he says, one eats to the Lord, another one doesn't. Don't have, bothersome deal to you. And the same way with circumcision, you know, nowadays, we continue to do that just out of a matter of cleanliness, you know, and, you know, medical research. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're doing that, if you're performing that little thing in order to gain some favor with God, the book of Galatians is very clear. You know, Paul says, that is not the true circumcision. That is not what you're supposed to be after. God wants your heart, you know. And so, this is good. You know, we've got to study these things out. We have to understand them and know them. Any other questions on anything that was shared?
Thank you, man.
Thank you.